urgent but grounded tone. Headlines frequently frame enterprise AI as an impending mass extinction event for the white-collar workforce, with millions of careers dissolving into lines of code. IBM provided a high-profile example in 2023 when its CEO announced a hiring pause for thousands of back-office roles, explicitly citing AI as the reason. A Boston Consulting Group analysis found 57. This flowchart maps that framework as a sequential three-step microeconomic filter: task potential, substitution versus augmentation, and demand expandability. Constructing this model allows us to understand exactly how AI targets specific jobs. We can then look at the 2026 SAG-AFTRA contract to see how a workforce can legally manipulate this model to its advantage. The friction between these economic models and human negotiation determines the future of work. This cluster represents 1,500 individual data nodes, covering the full taxonomy of U.S. professional roles. The first economic filter applied is task automation potential. The disruption threshold occurs when 40% of a role's tasks become automatable through AI. 57% of roles stay below this line because they rely on physical world interaction or face extreme situational ambiguity. That leaves the 43% of roles clustered above the threshold as the primary subjects for analysis. Crossing this 40% mark makes a role an immediate target for corporate workflow redesign. Exceeding the automation threshold is a prerequisite for disruption, but it is not a guarantee of replacement. The next junction determines if AI replaces the human or merely scales their capabilities. This scatter plot maps the two variables dictating that outcome: process structure on the x-axis and human interaction and judgment on the y-axis. Highly structured, low-judgment roles, like Tier 1 call center representatives, sit in the substitution quadrant. When inquiry workflows are highly repeatable, they can be handled end-to-end by an AI system, reducing the number of representatives required. Software engineering provides a clear contrast, requiring dynamic system-level design and the ongoing translation of complex, evolving business needs. Software engineering lands in the augmentation quadrant. In this quadrant, AI accelerates code generation, but human judgment remains necessary to own the final outcome. Whether a human is minimized or amplified depends on the complexity and judgment required by the output. The final filter for augmented roles asks if the market possesses an appetite for more of that output. This supply and demand curve illustrates Jevons paradox. It describes the economic principle where lowering the unit cost of a resource can increase its total consumption. Software engineering possesses significant demand headroom due to the volume of unfinished IT roadmaps. Lower costs allow organizations to build more software, leading to stable or growing headcount, even as individual productivity rises. Conversely, the demand for call center routing is often bounded by the size of the existing customer base. Fixed demand means productivity gains result in headcount reduction. In the generative AI era, an infinite market appetite for a role's output provides a primary defense against headcount reduction. While these models describe default economic paths, organized labor provides a mechanism to actively steer them. Professional actors represent a workforce facing extreme task automation potential from generative video and voice AI. Although acting is a high-judgment profession, the fidelity of generative AI threatened to push the industry toward pure substitution. The 2026 SAG-AFTRA TV theatrical contract utilized legal definitions to intentionally alter that trajectory. Organized workforces can rewrite default economic outcomes through legally binding definitions. To prevent substitution, SAG-AFTRA legally divided the definition of AI into two regulated categories. The first category is the digital replica. The contract mandates that a replica must be tied to a specific human performer and requires explicit ongoing consent. It also requires that the use of these replicas be paid at least at day performer scale. These specific clauses force studios to treat generative AI output as a compensated extension of the human worker. This contractual maneuver successfully enforced the path of augmentation. Tying digital output to human consent and compensation guarantees the economic benefits of augmentation for the workforce. The second, more dangerous category defined in the contract is synthetics. An entirely AI-generated entity, a synthetic, represents pure substitution under the BCG model. The contract places a steep hurdle here. Studios are restricted from using a synthetic unless it provides significant additional value compared to a human. This creates logistical barriers, including mandatory union bargaining and the threat of financial damages. This legal friction successfully blocked the path of substitution. The SAG-AFTRA contract provides a functional framework for other high-skill industries attempting to mitigate their own task automation potential. The boundary between economic augmentation and substitution remains a site of continuous structural negotiation.